Hello, world. Welcome to another episode of our podcast where we spotlight remarkable women who are making changes in the tech industry with courage, curiosity, and clarity of purpose. Today's guest is someone who embodies all of that and more. So, ready to hit start? Let's power up. Our guest today is a tech trailblazer, a dynamic and a purpose driven leader, Mahathi Mahabhashyam. Her journey has taken her through some of the most iconic organizations, starting with Stanford University to Amazon, Google, Uber, and now Microsoft. But what really stands out, not just the scale of her impact, it's the way she leads with deep curiosity, a commitment towards growth over titles, and the rare ability to combine technical depth with heart. Mahathi, welcome to our podcast. It's an honor to have you here. And if I'm being honest, I'm hoping I'll soak up a little wisdom along the way today.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate being here.
So, Mahathi, I've always followed your heart and stayed honest towards learning. That has been really evident in your early years of academics as well. So, can you walk us through the bold decisions that you took and how it shaped both personally as well as technically?
So, to be honest, I don't think I had it all mapped out or anything. I started off having an interest towards computer science, I guess, in my 9th grade, when the first time, I actually worked with a computer, and it was in basic programming language, and I was always good with math and I loved math, and somehow computer science felt like that perfect match. It felt the same kind of logical way of doing things, so I really loved it. Then as I progressed and I went into engineering and wrote my engineering entrance exams, I got into IIT, but I got into a chemical engineering. Then once I had written my MSET, I had gotten my computer science engineering in Osmania as well, and it was a choice, and it was a hard choice. I mean, for many people would say there was no choice at all, but for me, I was really drawn towards computer science, and of all the subjects, my least favorite was chemistry, to be honest. So for me, it felt like, hey, I don't want to be doing something for some that I don't love for 4 years. So I jumped in and I did my bachelor's in computer science. I really enjoyed it, and the best part of it, and though of course nothing was planned and I was very fortunate, I got a chance to do my master's in Stanford, and that was a transformative journey, to be honest. I think just being in the same space as some of the great names in computer science, a person who invented a mouse, for example. I think it was just being there with a lot of brilliant folks around, and the environment was so conducive to learning. Like, we were spending amazing late nights working hard through assignment, but it never felt like a chore, right? And I think that focus on learning sort of stood with me all through my career, right? And I always tried to find ways and means to sort of move in the direction of learning new things. So it didn't matter whether it was definitely some of the choices and were hard, but it was like, how do I continue to learn? And that was sort of the thing that led me into whatever I was doing.
This is so unconventional, because IIT is a name which no one really wants to reject, right? And choosing your passion is something which takes a lot of courage when you're choosing something other than IIT, and that's what you did. And Stanford is definitely, as you are calling out, it must have been a very transformative experience. So, what is one value that has actually you have taken from Stanford experience, which has stayed with you, which is still with you in your day-to-day work life?
I think definitely the focus on learning we talked about. I think that is probably the most important one, and I think the focus on trying to be good at what you do, right? Like that focus on excellence rather than on anything else. I mean, excellence is a very huge word, and we all feel like, what does that mean? But I think just focusing on learning and focusing on doing your best and not compromising on, if you don't know something, pushing yourself to learn, and putting in that effort to learn and learn it right, I think is something that I feel like I try to keep doing every day.
Yeah, and I think that is actually shown throughout your journey, which we'll deep dive right now. So,
Sure.
your journey has like multiple impressive milestones, right from the days of Stanford to where you are today with Microsoft. How every stage went. I think let's start with a deeper question, which is like, what are some of the defining moments when you felt that you're not just an engineer but a leader?
I would say that this aspect of leadership is something that dawned on me, somewhere along the way. Right. I think it was mostly as an engineer and very early on in a career, we just focused on technical excellence, like how do we do better at what we do, and then solve harder problems, right? And one thing I've sort of realized, and very early on in my career, I became a manager and didn't really fully appreciate what it meant, to be
So
honest.
did that happen organically?
It was actually an amazing manager who said, I think you should be a manager. And I was like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Right. And so I became a manager even before I was a senior engineer, to be honest, like, small team, and did that. Then after that, somewhere along, and we'll talk maybe some of the other transitions as well, but somewhere along I started to realize that being a manager and being a leader are two different things, right? And one of the things that I have learned is you're a leader no matter whether you're an IC or a manager, it doesn't matter, right? And being a leader is about taking responsibility, showing up, taking that accountability, being there for the rest of the crew, the rest of the team, the organization, the company, our job as leaders on a day-to-day is really to bring in and build the next set of leaders and not the set of followers. And that, I think, is primarily because a lot of amazing leaders also mentored me along the way, right? And I would reiterate the importance of mentorship. At this point, because I think, like, just looking at and like gleaning from some of those people and how they were leading and how they approached hard situations sort of gives you inspiration to say, hey, how would this person have done it in my situation, right? And that really helped. And I think that's what I would say. I think for me, the defining moment, I mean, while I became a manager early on, I think when I became a manager the next time around, I think that's when I really appreciated what it means to
be as a leader.
Yeah, to be a leader. And then I think that journey continued.
Yeah. And so it was like not something which just happened overnight, right? Or maybe did you take a pause, or did you think over it, or it was like along the journey?
I don't think I'm too much of a planner, to be honest. I don't think I've crafted my path to say I'm very intentional. I've met a lot of people who are like, I know exactly where I want to be in the next 5 years or 10 years. I honestly was not that planned. I think it, like we discussed a little earlier, I think it was always about what to learn. So in that path, like, for example, like when cloud was happening, that was a very defining moment for somebody to go in, and that was changing sort of how we were looking at tech. So that prompted me to sort of go after that and say, okay, let me build some conviction around it. Let me actually try some things hands-on. So I think it was more around that. So it was not planned in any way. A lot of times responsibility sort of happened, I guess that's what it is.
Yeah. And like taking this point here, I know that you have actually gone through multiple transitions, like from individual contributor to the managerial role, and you have not just done it once; you have done it multiple times. And so, how did that define how did that define success for you, and like how did you get the courage to do this multiple times?
So I think that I've done it thrice now, so this is my third iteration being a manager. I can see myself being an IC or individual contributor sometime in the future, maybe. I think for me it was about like I was saying, I was not too much of a planner, but I always had a perspective of, hey, what is the one thing I would love to learn? Maybe not one, but couple of things I would love to learn in the next couple of years, right? What are those things? And sometimes they are organizational or people-related challenges. Sometimes they could be about technical challenges, right? So a lot of times when that was the focus, so like I said, I became a manager very, very early. I was manager for a short time, and then when the cloud transition was happening, I wanted to really learn, so I switched into being an engineer and really tried to understand what it means to build cloud services. I also worked on mobile and user experience side. I hadn't done that before, so I did that for a while, and then I felt, hey, looking back, I think I liked being a manager a little, working with people, which is the other thing that gives me some satisfaction. So I was like, maybe I should give it another shot. Maybe I should try it. And so I became a manager again. And led a team through, again, a very complex technical problem. So I think I don't want to be just a people manager. I love to sort of work on complex problems. So did that, and did that for a while. And then I along the way, I felt, and I was leading a search team, like a search platform building at that time. And then I realized that ML was sort of happening, right? This was a few years ago, a while ago actually. So I did a bunch of courses on Coursera, right? Like one I did with machine learning, and then a deep learning like specialization. Did that, and I said, oh, you know what? I think I should understand this. Not that I would be like an ML engineer all my life. But I thought that this is something that's happening and I need to get understanding of it. So what I did was I went in and talked to my managers, and they were fully supportive. I said, I want to try being an ML engineer. So I was a quasi ML engineer. I don't think I had all of the technical backing for it, but I did that for a while, and then again built out a team around data and AI after that, right? But that experience really taught me the challenges of taking a model into production. All the stuff we talk about, data prep and all of those challenges are really hard, really hard. And that sort of gave me appreciation. So to your point, I think this transitions help, in my mind, I think getting hands-on helps you, because it's a way for you to like really appreciate the problem at a much deeper level. So as a manager, by definition, you're a step away from the problem. So being able to give some meaningful guidance, I felt like in the areas that you see things moving forward, I think it really helped me, because I was able to kind of give that guidance in a much better way than I would have.
Having that hands-on, done and dusted.
Yeah, you can empathize really, right? I think that's what it is, and being able to appreciate what they're going through.
Yeah, so with this, the other thing which I really wanted to talk about is, you never felt that, like, where there were no moments of doubt that whether I'll be able to switch back again, because not many actually choose this kind of transition. It's always like more of like growing in the same ladder. But how did you? How did you had this appetite of taking this kind of a risk?
It's easier when you talk about it in hindsight, right? But the reality is, one saying that sticks with me is like, courage is not the absence of fear. It's doing things despite the fear, right? So every time I made the transitions, whether it was changing companies or changing roles, I think I was always apprehensive. I was always worried. I'm like, I don't know, I'm just barely managing my life and the balance as it is. What does it mean to take this on? So it was really always hard. But I think having done that a couple of times, I said, hey, this is what it's going to be, but it's important. So having a sense of why you're doing it definitely helps, right? And that's what helped me sort of through the transitions. But while the story looks all good, from personal experience, I know it's hard. And for a lot of time, folks do ask me, hey, should I try being a manager? Should I try, switching back to an IC? And I said, like, this is what I think, right? You already have the skill. If you were a great IC, you're not going to lose that over a client, right? And so you sort of look at that and you say, okay, now that you have this, go try out, right? In the least, I feel it teaches you what you love, what you don't love, whether it's your cup of tea. The learnings never go away, right? So if we take away the tag of success and failure, and look at it as experiences and learning, I think it just makes that transition easier. But the reality is, it's hard when you're going through it, right? So I wouldn't downplay that. But the other thing, since we're talking sayings, is I think sometimes we forget that, or at least what I've realized is, we tend to we regret having not taken any action than
Yes.
having taken an action and maybe it didn't work
Yeah.
out. I think those regrets are much harder in life, and so at least you can sleep with a peaceful heart that you tried it, and
Yeah.
maybe it wouldn't work out, so be it.
Yeah.
Right? And you're nobody is the judge but you
Right.
of your own life.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think this is a great perspective because the first thing that you called out, that if there is a learning curve, it's actually always better to try it firsthand and becoming like hands-on, because eventually it's a value add that you will also pass on to the team, right? As a manager.
Yeah.
And at the same time, these transitions, there's a level of confidence because you know that you can go back again, and there's a magnitude of risk as well. But I think that is what sets you unique, and it has been like really played well for you. And coming back to the why part, so what has been the how do you basically connect the why across all these product organizations and the kind of multiple roles that you have played? What has been your sense of purpose? And is that something which influences your leadership style as well?
Yeah. No, I think I feel like, that is probably what gives me energy on
Yeah.
a day in and day out to sort of do whatever I can. I think few things for me, one of the most important things that is why is, for my own self, what am I learning,
Yes.
right? I
Yeah.
think that is independent of how we define growth or success. I think for me, it's about what can I learn? And the second part is it's all good that I'm learning. What can I contribute, right? And how can we create even small impact,
Yeah.
right, through what our actions to somebody else, right? And in the tech industry, like one is through the product, through the customers. The other part is the people that
Yeah.
we interact with on a day-to-day basis. So I think the switches between, for me, IC and manager sort of have also been in some ways my balance between, hey, I want to learn on the technical side, but I also want to contribute to people. And if I can, like if anything I say and do today, for example, has an impact where somebody feels a little bit more hopeful of trying something that they wouldn't normally, or gives them something else, something to latch on to for whatever they're going through, I would call this a success today.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that is what helps me sort of to say, okay, whatever I'm doing, it has a meaning beyond just me, or
Right.
just whatever this career path may mean.
Yeah.
Right? And that's sort of what gives me maybe the liberation to try different things, because I'm not trying to tie in myself to whatever it is, but I think that helps me sort of ground myself as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
To say, okay, and because I think success and failures are like sort of, it's a sinusoidal
Yes,
wave.
yes.
Life, and it's, we talk about all the successes, we don't definitely talk as much about failures, but I think that sinus wave is there in everyone's life.
Yeah.
Sine wave is everyone's life, right? And I think for me, it helps me ground it. So no matter what goes, things go up, down, some things work, some things don't work. We know it's okay, right?
Yeah.
We're all trying to do our best.
Yeah.
And somewhere there's meaning to what we're doing.
Yeah, so it's basically the I would say the inclination and the purpose is towards learning.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. The purpose is towards learning.
Yeah.
Purpose is to see if I can impact
Exactly.
some people.
The other
I
piece
think.
is also like how you can impact people around you.
Yeah. I think those two things,
Yeah.
trying to balance that out with everything else in life is probably the best
Yeah.
thing.
But at the same time, I think it's you need to be really strong because there are multiple external expectations. So how do you ignore that? Like, how do you ignore these external voices?
No, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. And I think it's not just hard for you, it is hard for like people around you.
Yeah.
And sometimes the hardest challenges or the hardest expectations to meet are your own. Right?
True.
Because we
Yeah.
hold ourselves to a bar that, we feel, hey, certain things need to be certain way. How can I be in this way? Whatever, right? And so it's hard. I'm no way trivializing it. I think it's hard. It's something you learn, work through. And I think I've been fortunate because I've had like both my parents' side and my in-laws and my husband and kids are like all super
Very
supportive.
supportive.
Right?
Yeah.
And I understand that that's hard for a lot of folks, but at least for me, touch wood, that has
Yeah.
worked out. And so they are are generally like in the time where I'm not feeling super strong and I have a lot of questions, I have all of these support system, right? Like my husband will be like, why would you think you couldn't do it?
Just
right?
try
You've
it
done
out.
it, right? Go
Yeah.
try it. So whenever I've had the doubt, like, my parents or my husband or even my kids were like, it's okay. Like, I think this, why don't you try this? So
Yeah.
I think that really helps. And I think being able to build a support system around you that can do that could be friends, that could be family,
Yeah.
that could be mentors,
Mentors.
right? I think that support system definitely helps because transitions are not easy.
Yeah.
And we all go through our questions like, are we going to succeed or not? But I think this support system definitely helps. So I've been fortunate for it.
Yeah. Really happy to see this, the ecosystem that you have around yourself, and you have tried out like multiple things around across your journey. Now coming to the position where you are not just handling a team or bunch of teams, but basically leading an organization. So how did the perspective of leadership changed? Was there changes that you brought in yourself? And because it's a high stake thing, right? Whatever decisions you are taking is impacting multiple folks. It's an org in itself. So what were those? Did you make any changes? How did your perspective change about leadership?
That's a great question, and I think it was sort of a growing thing, right? I think so. As an IC or
So
as
it
a
was like a
gradual thing
Yeah.
probably, and I think it's more as a leader, as a frontline manager, you're directly interacting with people, but as you grow in the managerial ladder, right?
Yeah.
It's slightly more indirect.
Yes.
In the sense your influence is indirect. You're working with more seasoned folks. So how do you kind of give them the autonomy and the ability to sort of lead in the way they do, because no two leaders are the same.
Yeah.
Right? And trying to emulate one is not like sort of going to get you anywhere, and we don't want that any which way, right? So but giving them the autonomy and like making sure that you still are trying to kind of go towards the impact that you want to drive. These are all skills to learn. I think the couple of things that helped definitely were being able to listen, right? I think that we talk about it, I'm sure, in most leadership things, but
Yeah.
I really sort of say that is probably the most important thing. Sometimes we have a lot to share, and I myself am a person find it very hard to shut up. But I think that it's important to sort of create the space for people to come up and tell what is going wrong versus not. So it's creating that space for trust and being able to listen when somebody is saying something that might be very contra to what you think, right? And creating that safe space, as we call it, is hard. I mean, that's what I hope to achieve every single day, but I think that helps because then like you said, right, the stakes are high.
Yeah.
And as by definition, as you're not directly involved either coding or otherwise, right, you don't necessarily know all it takes, and so it's important to listen and then say, okay, you know what, you don't know, so you can't get decisions right by default. So then that really helps because then someone else is covering for you, and a great team is where everyone's sort of able to cover each other's weaknesses and really encourage each other's pros, right? So I think creating that space is what it is. So the journey, I think, is more around recognizing sort of how you need to lead more like indirectly. Some cases you're mentoring, you're doing different things, but sort of leading through that, and also recognizing that the higher you grow, the more the need for more listening and being more grounded, because it's just harder. So I think and there's a lot of people and they're in the organization whose careers you're responsible for. So sort of that at least grounds me. I'm like, okay, I like, let me see how to take this responsibility, right?
It's basically how you do meaningful delegation, how you are indirectly involved, but at the same time you're feeling that authority and responsibility of keeping things right. And how about the stakeholders? Like, how do you manage that part?
So I'm generally an optimist. I feel like there is a win-win to be achieved in every situation. And I think most folks, most of the time, we're all trying to sort of do the right thing. It's just that our perspectives might be different. So I feel like everyone is sort of working together, right? And that's when the organization flourishes. So achieving that win-wins is the journey, right? And I think that's what it is. And to your point around meaningful delegation, I think delegation is about both accountability and ownership, and being able to do that well. And hopefully, like if leaders who are watching, I think one of the things that I generally tell my team is that my job is hopefully to make my job irrelevant, in the sense that we have built the next set of leaders in a way that I am not needed, right? And that is what we need to push for. Not that I'm like adding immense value or anything, but that is my aim every single day.
So incredible journey, Mahathi, and so many, I would say, unconventional choices, right from your academics to your professional journey, like switching these roles and transitioning from one org to another, even while you are at the peak of your career. So I think, how do you navigate, like when you enter a space which is like uncomfortable or maybe unfamiliar, like how do you navigate those challenges? I know you spoke about having the courage, but at the same time there is a sense of fear, and the mentorship support, and also your the support system that you have built around yourself. But in addition to this, like how do you navigate when you enter something which is really unfamiliar?
I think any change, whether it's role or team, is by nature going to be different, right? And every organization has a slightly different way in which it operates, right? I call it the DNA of the organization, right? So everything has that, right? And for example, navigating from larger companies into a much smaller company, it brings in its own set of challenges, or I would say unique situations to handle, right? So I think working through that, I think it is recognizing that it could be that way, right? I think that's the most important thing we can do. Like assuming that what we are doing or what we have done sort of just will work as is probably what you want to avoid. So recognizing the fact that it will be different, and again, just I would say suspending too much thought, or trying to kind of evaluate and stuff like that. I typically think like the first 6 months, as much as possible, don't overthink it. Sort of try to understand the situation, see how best to navigate. Again, find that support system within the organization as well. People do want you to succeed when they pull you into a new role. So I think finding those set of folks and having those conversations and trying to work through the situation, I think that definitely helps, right? But knowing and sort of being aware, I think is the most important thing in those. So transitions are inherently that way, right? So I think that's the most important.
So even if you are not, basically you will never be 100% ready for anything, but I think taking a chance is something that we should definitely do.
I think that part is very true, right? Like I mean, you can never sort of predict it all. I mean, if at all, things are definitely not going to go the way you think. So sort of being able to still put up your hand, and that's where I think the why you're doing it makes sense.
Right.
I think that helps you sort of navigate through it, saying, hey, this is why you did it. So why not give it your full and then see how it goes, right? So I think being able to take that chance, and fundamentally in that zone of discomfort, right, or in the zone of the unknown, or getting yourself out of your comfort zone, is where a lot of learning is. So if it feels uncomfortable, it's probably right. You're going to learn something out of that experience.
I think there is a saying also that big things and big leaps happen when you enter into an uncomfortable zone.
Very, very true.
Okay, so like really interesting talk, but let's see the fun side of yours.
Okay.
So we have a rapid fire segment planned for you. We'll have a series of like one-liner sort of questions.
Okay.
And let's see.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's go.
So coffee or chai or something stronger?
No, chai it is. I'm a chai, I really love chai, but then I'm very picky about my chai as well. I like it in a certain way, and if I don't find it, I'd rather drink coffee than a bad chai. So that's me.
Okay. What's your secret talent that no one knows at work about?
That's a hard one. I can tell you a lot of maybe something that's fun about me that very few people know, which is I was a amazingly crazy cricket fan when I was in school. I used to watch test matches like all day. I had all big cutouts of every Sachin Tendulkar century ever
Wow.
made, and used to drive my mom crazy as well. Like, who watches test match all 5 days sitting in front of the TV? But I used to be that way. So right now, I guess in other priorities, cricket is not out there, but I still do follow thanks to my kids and my husband. They still love cricket, so I keep following.
Have you been to a stadium to watch?
Yeah,
live?
I do. Yeah, I mean, we just were in IPL match just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think definitely do. And when we had the World Cup as well, we were in. I mean, we didn't have India matches in Hyderabad, but we were there for the Pakistan-Sri Lanka match.
Oh,
it was
wow.
really interesting.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
Having Pakistan in the context always like adds that.
Yeah. And it was such a wonderful match. I think it was
really
like a
good.
high octane match.
Yeah.
So very nice to actually see.
Okay, and if you were not in tech, what would you be doing today?
I originally wanted to be an astronaut. Okay.
Wow.
So this was like, in schooling, I'm sure all of us have that, that thing that inspires us. So I
Right.
was a big Star Trek fan. And I was like, okay, exploring the stars is what it was all about. So I definitely wanted to be that, and then realized, like, I have a lot of fear for heights and for motion. Like, I can't do well with
okay.
motion sickness. So I was like, okay, that is not a job for me.
Yeah.
So that sort of sunk in later, but that is probably what I would have done. But even today, I'm passionate about what happens, space and otherwise.
Yeah.
So maybe someday work in a space, maybe in the computer science field, but in space.
Exactly. And I think there is so much
agency.
of influence of tech into these in this space already.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it
Yeah,
will
yeah,
happen.
yeah. You never know.
Yeah. Your go-to song or the one you would have never sing in public.
Oh. I would probably sing it
Sing
in public.
Yeah.
But this is a song that was probably one of the first songs that I remember learning or whatever, right? Like, so my dad is a big Lata fan, and we always had music in the house. So I think this is the one song I remember from some of the top songs of Lata. So I'll hum something.
Yeah, please.
एहसान तेरा होगा मुझ पर दिल चाहता है वो कहने दो मुझे तुमसे मोहब्बत हो गई है मुझे पलकों की छाँव में रहने दो एहसान तेरा होगा मुझ पर
Wow, Mahathi, this is like a unseen side of yours. So
Yeah.
melodious, actually.
Thank you.
So do you really like? Have you taken a?
I
a
learned
professional
music on
coaching?
and off. My
Yeah.
family was mostly into music,
Yeah.
so music sort of happened all the time
Yeah.
around. So I just picked up. I'm not a professional singer for sure.
No,
I mean, my
actually.
profession is computer science.
It's really melodious.
Thank you, thank you. So we used
Thank
to.
you for showing this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we used to do a bunch of shows as family. So yeah,
One tech buzzword you wish would disappear forever.
I have no idea. I'm thinking. Give me some options. I have no idea what.
Yeah, I think now everybody is talking about AI, and
AI.
then I mean tech buzzword, right? So buzzword could be something like what you use in this in your day-to-day tech life.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll respond by EOD and
Yeah,
like
EOD is good. I think EOD is good.
and it never works.
Yeah. EOD is like, it's like you need to get to it and you haven't gotten to it, so you can't
Then
sleep
you just
without
do
it.
it like, okay, I'll get back by EOD.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, late night code or early morning strategy?
Early morning strategy. I think it helps really to have a clear mind helps with strategy. So
And you're also a early riser.
I'm an early riser. Yeah, I can't do very well with night meetings or night anything.
If you could switch jobs with anyone for a day, who would it be?
Wow.
Not just like in the tech space,
Yeah,
right?
I'm
Like
hoping.
anyone.
Maybe I would switch for a day with Sunita Williams. Then I can get to be there without
Yeah.
having to go through the entire
Right.
journey and then switch back right
Yeah.
up, like teleport in.
Yeah, and it
That
has
would
been
be
like
nice.
such a it's a very challenging journey that she has gone through. Very admirable actually.
I think to work through that kind of situation is very, very hard.
Okay, the most non-tech thing about you.
I think a lot of what I said today is probably non-tech. I think I love my tech, but I also love to stay connected on some of the things outside of it, like music and other ways.
On a weekend, where are you more likely to be? Hiking a trail, doing the music jams, or curled up with a book?
Oh, curled up with a book every day, every single time, right? I love books. I love to be in my zone and not having to work with a lot of different things. So I think that's.
And what kind of books excites you, Mahathi?
In general fiction, I am a learned non-fiction writer because I always used to incentivize myself. Okay, if I read this non-fiction or like some kind of self-help book, then I'll get to read a fiction series. So that's how I learned and built my non-fiction thing. But there's some amazing non-fiction books as well that I really go back to. That have had a deep influence.
Any suggestion?
I think there's one by Arbinger Institute. I think it's around. It's the concept is around being in the box.
Okay.
I'll find the name. I can't find the name
that's
right
totally
now.
Fine.
But I think it's an amazing book. I think it's in the context of leadership, but I think it's got nothing to do with leadership. And I think it has had immense influence on how you think about relationships in general. So I would definitely say that's
recommend that.
Yep.
Okay, and the last one. If your life were a movie, what would it be called?
Enjoy the journey, I guess. Right? Because I think that's what we have in our hands, right? And how do we best utilize every moment we have and like have fun along the way, because life is too important and too precious to be too serious and worked up about things.
And maybe like follow your heart, because you have done that.
Yes.
In whatever decisions or whatever changes you have done throughout your journey, it's basically stemming. It has stemmed from your heart.
Definitely follow your heart as well.
Okay, so with this we are ending the rapid fire. We'll go back to our conversation. So, Mahathi, you have worn many hats: a technologist, a leader, a parent. So, how do you balance across the board?
I think one of the things that inspired me, I would say, is definitely my mom. So she was somebody who was in the banking industry for a long time, and then later switched at very late in her career to the computer science side of the industry. She was working with.
That's a very unconventional switch.
So I guess some part of that rubbed off for me. So she was definitely that, but through it all, she was always there for me, right? And to me, balance in life is about that. If I'm able to be that for my kids and my family, like I think that's what it is about. And sometimes we think that balance is a 9 to 5 kind of a balance, right? Every day you're sort of doing that, but I think it's about being able to do what is needed and what's most important at the time when it needs to be done, right? And sometimes that means work is able to accommodate life and life is able to accommodate work, right? And I think that is what to me is balance about. And it's important sort of to not take it all up on yourself and take a little de-stress, because I think when we take a break from something, I think we are able to come back with a fresh thinking. That definitely helps work, that helps life as well, right? And so being able to detach a little bit and not worry about it if you can, I think that really helps. So I think to me it's that, and I think the best thing we can all do is build a hobby if you don't have one, because at least for me singing was that. And of course being with the kids and running around and enjoying with them, I think all of these are great ways to disconnect, and that really helped me. But I think that's what I would say.
Right? So maybe your stress buster is like music.
Music, books, I think movies also, and cricket, so many things, but I would say music mostly.
Okay. And you have been in the forefront of AI not just now, but almost like since couple of years back as well, right? And with this all fast evolution that we are seeing in the AI space, what will be your advice? Like what we should learn, what we should unlearn, and specifically for the leaders, because I think AI is definitely making a difference. So what will be your advice there?
Yeah, I think AI has definitely arrived and arrived in a big way. And yeah, I mean, I started off in the AI journey a while ago. But yeah, the pace of innovation right now is much higher than it was even before, right? And I think that's so. As an industry, we have seen many such revolutions, right? We have seen the cloud, we have seen the mobile. So AI is also definitely that, but its pace is much faster, right? And I think part of it, like you nicely said, right, learning and unlearning, that is true about probably anything we do. Like a good part of what we need to do is not assume that what things were is how it will be. So there's a lot of unlearning, but definitely in the space of AI, I think the excitement is of the possibilities, right? What we thought was very hard is now something that is at our fingertips, right? For everyone. So I think that excitement is actually really true, and I think that is what I think we should ride on, because what we previously thought we couldn't do as maybe as technologists or in any other profession, I think now we have a buddy and a companion to sort of help us do that, right? So how do we leverage it the most is probably the most important and exciting part. Of course, a word of caution: any innovation or any scientific advancement has two sides, and we need to be a little bit more cautious on, from the security, privacy, all of those angles. But I think all in all, I think it's an exciting time to be a technologist, right? One way or the other, this revolution as we see it through, and learn from it, I think we'll all be like, we'll all look back at this phase and feel like, oh, how fortunate we were. Right.
So do you, like, you must have observed a very, I would say, a striking difference between how the traditional AI/ML used to be and now how it is with the Gen AI emerging things, right? So leveraging the power is one thing, and how do you think somebody can even like contribute on this from the base perspective?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's fair. And traditionally, ML engineering was all about data and feature engineering. A lot of stuff that was like, you had to work through it and figure it out. I think right now LLMs, to an extent, have or deep learning, once as it has picked up, right, and now LLMs are at the forefront of it, have simplified that part of it, right? But at the same time, I still believe that it's garbage in, garbage out. If you don't really know how best to utilize it, you might not get what you're looking for. So I know prompt engineering was a big thing. It's probably still something that we need to look at and improve on, right? Like, how do you really make it work for you? But at the same time, there's a lot of unsolved problems still, right? In terms of, if I just look at where the humanitarian hat, right? Like, I mean, there's so many unsolved problems in the world today, right? I think it's important to see how, we utilize this technology and this power that we have for some of those problems, and those are all unsolved problems. So technically, any one of us who's passionate can go off and see how do we apply AI in that space, right? So I think so one part is, as a technologist, yes, you want to go in and build that, but the minute you say, hey, how do I apply it to a brand new space, I'm sure new challenges will emerge, which is where we as technologists can go in and see, okay, what does it take for us to solve this, right? Because there are certain areas where like data is not available, right? How are you going to then go solve for those, right? So there's a lot more challenges out there.
And in fact, that ties back to the same traditional data prep that used to work earlier, right?
Exactly.
So I think those things have still not changed. But yes, the power that we see today and the kind of, I would say, the way it's packaged and the way it's abstracted, it's something which is really, I would say it's actually turning out to be magical. In like, as you started speaking about it, many unsolved and difficult problems are now getting easy.
With, easier to solve. And so it's the onus is on us to go after them and solve it.
Yeah, but it's really evolving at a very high speed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Catching up is like
every week, every day, something is changing and something is, and so it's very exciting.
And the love of your learning is something which I think we all should imbibe and like start picking on this.
Yeah, no, I think the one word of advice, if I were, is that I think learning is part of what we are, right? Like we just have to do it. It's like, either it's enforced on us or we embrace it. I would say, why not embrace it, right? But, and that for me has been at least my life journey, that it has always helped. And I feel no knowledge is useless. Eventually something somewhere will connect the dots and it'll all make sense. So I think that way, it's good to sort of go along that journey.
So with this, Mahathi, we are coming towards the end. And before we close, what is one piece of advice that you would basically want to share with someone who is like someone in this industry, be it any phase? What is one piece of advice?
Now, I would say just focus on learning things the right way, like in the right way in the sense like focus on doing your best in trying to solve things as deeply as you can, as better as you can, because I think those kind of core skills will always be helpful. No matter how things look a little intimidating, go try out, and if it's something you want to have always done, and you've sort of looked at the pros and cons and it feels like maybe now is right, go after it, right? I think pursue some of those things, and in as much as it teaches you this is not something for me, I think in itself is valuable, right? Like it starts to sort of make a lot of sense. So I think just be yourself, if you can, learn as much as you can, and continue to sort of try new things, because in that zone of discomfort is where I feel the most learning is waiting for you.
Very useful key takeaways for us, which is basically keeping the focus on learning, understanding why we are doing something, why we are choosing, and having the courage. And also, I would say it's a calm confidence that you have, which basically help you to like take over new things. So very insightful discussion, Mahathi. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us.
Yeah, I think I'll just state that confidence comes with having tried some. So
Right,
it's like,
right.
so I would say, if that's something that you figure out, I'm not a very calm kind of a person.
No, not in terms of your personality.
I know.
But I think the confidence in itself is like showing up.
Yeah.
And it's something that is not like made up. It's implicitly coming up because you have already tried things.
Yeah, I think that if hopefully that is something that you can take away, sure, that'll be lovely.
Yeah. Thank you, and thank you for spending your time with us. I'm sure many of our listeners will start like focusing on the purpose and also the learning. Definitely. So thank you for spending your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it, and I wish you all the best with your channel and what you're trying to do. I think more of us, whatever we can to help, this community of learners and folks who are focused on their careers. I think what all we can do, I think every one of those things counts. So I'm thankful for you folks to doing what you're doing, and all the best.
Yeah, thank you, Mahathi. We'll need that support. I'm sure like we'll be meeting again on like couple of things.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Mahathi's journey is a strong reminder that growth doesn't always come from a perfect plan. It comes from the confidence to learn on the go, the courage to take risks even when you're not fully ready, and the strength to lead with purpose and presence. Her ability to stay hands-on, make bold moves, and lead with conviction offers a blueprint of what a modern leadership can look like. If you're in a doubt whether you're ready for the next move, let this be your reminder. Courage, curiosity, and clarity of the purpose go a long way. If you like the content, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Until next time, keep challenging, keep dreaming, and keep powering up. Thank you.